On September the 7th, 1979, we took to the airwaves as the Entertainment and Sports Programming Network, bringing you 57 consecutive hours of sports programming. That was just the start.
September 7th, 1979. It changed sports television forever.
It came to ESPN in 1979 when we began, and that's kind of the beginning of civilization.
Back in 1979, there was a band of hopeful dreamers.
We were a small team, and everyone was pulling their weight.
The cable industry was just really in its infancy.
There's this thing going on out at Bristol.
We think we have an idea that's going to change the world.
Hey, you guys ready for this?
Nobody had seen anything like this. We created magic.
It's a uniquely American journey.
ESPN's largest innovation was its own birth.
It's a fairy tale.
September 7th, 1979, I came in on about 6 hours of sleep. Went to the Roach Coach, had my chili dog and coffee.
And now it's game day. Everyone knew what their job was, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
There's chaos. Everybody's running around, people are painting, cleaning windows.
The doors were still open, the flies were coming in. It was just a lot of commotion.
The studio was finished, but master control was not fully functional.
So we brought the truck from WHYY in Philadelphia. That was our master control room.
All the cables from that truck came through into here. And I remember there was this scramble.
As the architect, I didn't realize that September 7th on air meant it was going to be on air come hell or high water.
Out, and then back. Good. Push hard back. Arm 2.
Many people claim to be the founders of ESPN, but no, they were not the ones with the dream and the vision, no.
Head up and back.
The founders of ESPN were most definitely Bill and Scott Rasmussen.
People owe their careers, their jobs, their livelihoods to this company and to Bill and Scott.
Left and then right.
Bill Rasmussen. Yep. Without him, we're not here. Sure. You talk to him, his glass not half full, completely full, even when it had no right to be.
When you meet Bill, he makes you feel like he's known you all his life, which is part of it, the magic of the man.
Understood.
If you walk the halls of ESPN, whether it's Bristol or New York City or Los Angeles or whatever, folks know that we wouldn't be here today without Bill.
Bill shared with me a few years ago his Parkinson's diagnosis.
Well, I'm positive, Mike, you're positive.
To this day. He likes to say he starts every day with a smile on his face.
There's people that I've known who've been diagnosed with Parkinson's. Bill calls me and says, let them know I can be a resource for them. And I feel like I can help. Like that's an inspiring way to live.
People don't really die from Parkinson's, but they do have to learn to live with it, and that's what I'm trying to perfect. I've always had a positive attitude. I think I'm going to get a business card. That'd be a good idea. We'll start an Intentional Optimist Club. When I was a little kid, I couldn't wait for the paper to arrive in the morning. Sports first, sports second, sports third, and maybe occasionally a headline that I didn't understand anyway. The newspapers and the radio, that's all we had. To me, the radio voices of the day, they were all heroes. And these guys, I thought, wow, they get to travel with the team. They get to watch baseball games every day. Wouldn't that be a great life?
Delivers, and it's swung on and missed for strike 3, and it's another K in the score.
Later, when I got out of the Air Force, I got my first job with a major corporation, the Westinghouse Lamp Division in Bloomfield, New Jersey. Westinghouse made all kinds of light bulbs. I was in the advertising department. And that's when I decided I couldn't see myself in the big corporate world because all I had to do was look around Westinghouse and they had so many things that didn't work. For example, they could never get their printed materials shipped in time. And I thought about that for a second. I told them I can do that in 24 hours. Any job you give me, be in the front door and out the back door in 24 hours. They said, you can't do that. I decided I think I can do better on my own. That's what started Ad Aid. Ad Aid became a huge success with Westinghouse as a major customer. When somebody tells you you can't do something, you kind of want to prove them wrong. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. By that time, I was married. Lois and McDonald for Mickey. We have kids, bought a house, but I still wasn't satisfied. I just couldn't see myself in the corporate world, and so I sold the business to get into broadcasting. I saw this magazine called Broadcasting, sports announcer, daytime radio station in Westerly, Rhode Island. I called him, said, I saw your ad and I'd like to come in and talk to you. And he said, oh, okay, sure. Walked in and he said, hi, nice to meet you. He said, what station do you work for? I said, oh, I don't work for any station. And I've never worked in radio before. Why should I hire you? Because I can do the job, I said. I just knew I could do it. And on April 1st, 1963, I said my very first words ever on radio.
What were those words? Do you remember?
I haven't the faintest idea. I don't know that anybody else heard them either, so. Then I started thinking about television. And soon I was doing the nightly NBC News plus sports.
I first met Bill through his announcing work. I realized this was a guy that could do a lot for us.
I was Howard Baldwin, who was the president of the Whales.
I was 28 years old when I started the team. We played in Boston the first 2 years and then moved the team to Hartford.
You can bet the Whalers will come out flying in the third period.
We put him on as a color guy on our television broadcast.
The puck literally, because they move the puck so well.
I started out covering the Whalers for the Hartford Times. Bill and I shared an office. We hit it off right away.
For those of us that live here, it was our little team. You know, it was professional sports in Little Connecticut.
Tommy Earl coming in to score!
While I was there, my son Scott came on, and he became the arena announcer.
Working with him at the Whalers, that was the first time that we had something to do together.
He certainly will, Spence. Cap is just back.
Bill would announce at night, and then during the day, we needed a personality that was known in the marketplace to help us sell the advertising.
So Howard Baldwin, one of the big stars.
And he got my childhood idol, Gordie Howe, to come to the Whalers. Gordie and Colleen Howe and Mark and Marty Howe came to us as free agents, which was a pretty big deal. Colleen, who I adored, was a taskmaster, a real taskmaster. I felt Bill would be perfect to work with her because he had a bit of a tolerance for pain.
So I'm working for both Howe Enterprises and the New England Whalers.
Preston, as Gordie Howe steps back on.
I brought up the idea of a 50th birthday party for Gordie Howe, center ice. I got to introduce Gordie, and he came out and stood in the spotlight next to me. My childhood idol, Gordie Howe. It was a charmed experience.
It seems strange now, but back in the 70s, if you wanted to watch sports at a national level, it happened maybe several hours a week, just on the weekends, just on one of the 3 over-the-air networks. And that was it.
The biggest events, the top stuff from the biggest leagues.
It was typically the household name teams, the New York Yankees, UCLA basketball, that type of thing, and wide world of sports.
All of us that were part of sports broadcasting, we would do 2 minutes at 6 and 2 minutes at 11. That was your sports.
Thin gruel, if you were a sports fan. There was not a lot available.
Going at the rush.
So I'm doing hockey, and I want to do more.
They're ahead 3-1.
Channel 18 was about 2 blocks from the arena where the Whalers played. I thought, what a great way to publicize the Whalers. And they said, you don't even have to pay us anything, just give us some programming. We decided it's going to be a half-hour sports show. Oh, sports only.
I was at Channel 18. I met Bill when he hired me to direct his sports only show.
30 minutes of sports. This is going to be awesome.
And to promote it, we had an 8.5, 11 magazine-sized page ad. Me with a baseball cleat on one foot, a skate on another, a glove in one hand and a bat, and a hockey stick sticking out.
It was obvious he knew a lot about Connecticut sports. He was the right person to host a show like that.
Bill had a lot of really good ideas. And when he talked about it, he would get excited about it.
As soon as we started Sports Only, one of the very first things that I did was began to create a grid of programming. In the fall, we knew that Saturdays was high school and college football, Sunday was professional football. There was a rhythm to it.
It had a really good run, and it went for several months, and Bill announced that we weren't going to continue. It was a business decision.
Now the buzzer goes to end the game, and the Houston Aeros defeat the New England Whalers 6-4.
The Whalers season ends, they don't win the playoffs. And on Memorial Day weekend, 1978, the phone rings. Hi, Bill, it's Colleen. I didn't really want to tell you like this. She's kind of stuttering around. She says, I've got to catch this plane. Howard wanted me to call you and tell you he doesn't want you to come back next season, and neither do we. I got to run by.
It went fine in the beginning, and then it was not a good fit.
I was just fired in about 8 seconds from 2 jobs.
I was devastated when I found out that that was the end of Bill with the Whalers. But he had talked to me for a whole year about this new thing he was trying to start. And it sounded very exciting.
Turned out, though, couldn't have come at a better time. Best day of my life.
When my father was fired, that was a good thing. I was 23 and like, let's start a new venture.
Back in those days, cable was in its infancy, and we only got like crumbs.
Cable television is an applied exercise in electronic plumbing.
It really started in mountainous communities. Antennas had to be put up to catch a signal and then feed it into homes.
And you'd have a cable box and have a cable running across your living room rug. You had to get up, flip to the other channel, go back, sit down.
The majority of people in our community didn't have cable television. I had the antenna. There's only so many channels you're going to get on your TV.
The cable industry was really set to explode.
My father and I knew that there was a nation of what I later called sports junkies. We knew they were there.
That was my driving force right from the beginning. I wanted to have more sports on the air for the community. Ed Egan was a good friend who worked for the Aetna Insurance Company. We had this idea of putting 5 Connecticut cable companies together and having a single feed. And you will get Connecticut blanketed with sports programming.
We rented some space at the United Cable Television building in Plainville, Connecticut.
But now we have to come up with a name. Sports has to have sports in there somewhere. So sports programming, that part was easy. Well, it's entertaining. It's entertainment. Why don't you just use the word entertainment? It was a throwaway idea.
Early on, it was just entertainment and sports programming, which was ESP. The ESP name seemed a little hokey.
Around the state of Connecticut, that's a network by anybody's definition.
So it became the Entertainment and Sports Programming Network, ESPN.
And then we had to pick a starting date to go on the air. So we insisted on September 7th, 1979. That was the first football weekend after Labor Day that year. And ESPN was born.
So we're excited. We held a meeting of all the Connecticut cable operators at the United Cable building. We told them we had this great idea to send the UConn basketball, Whalers hockey, and Bristol Red Sox baseball all around Connecticut. They basically laughed us out of the room. It was one of the great marketing flops of all time. And then somebody in the back of the room said, you know, if you're serious about this, you ought to find out about the satellite.
Satellite, what did we know about satellite? Telstar, Sputnik, satellite? What do you mean satellite?
I'm hearing a lot about a satellite. At that time, HBO was the only game in town using the satellite. I don't know what all the details are, but RCA Americom's doing something. So I just picked up the phone and called them.
The phone rings one day, and this guy said, I hear you are the guy I need to talk to.
And 48 hours later, the salesman is in Plainville, Connecticut to talk to two guys he's never heard of, which means the demand wasn't really strong.
And that's how we met Mel Parinello.
When I got to Plainville, I look up and I see United Cable building. That was impressive to me.
We rented a conference room for $20 for half a day.
This was a really beautiful room.
So he didn't ask any questions about our finances. He just, I'm sure, assumed it was a United Cable thing. We didn't tell him that, but he didn't ask.
And the wonders of the world opened during that meeting.
I was able to educate him about the power of the satellite, the coverage area of the satellite.
Al Parinello, salesman for RCA Americom, took a deep breath. He said, you generate the signal,
the picture, whatever you want to
call it, television. Put it in our system.
Put it in our system.
We'll send it to a satellite. I don't know
how it works either.
But he said it's up there.
22,300
miles above the Earth, just
south of Hawaii, etc.
In a geosynchronous orbit, meaning as the Earth turns, it's in the same spot all the time.
Anybody, anywhere in the country that had a dish could pick it up. And I said, that's a market that's never been tapped.
So it went from 5.5 hours a day to 24-hour a day, all of America. And that's what blew their minds.
Wow, how much does this cost? This must be really expensive.
It was $1,250 for 5 hours was their starting rate.
Well, Scott's doodling away. He is hitting numbers like hard.
$1,250 an hour. That's pretty expensive.
Somewhere near the end of the meeting, he said, there's one other tariff rate, got to tell you about it.
We don't know what's going to go wrong with the satellite. So we protected ourselves by offering a less expensive transponder. That would be a very, very inexpensive way to get into the satellite industry.
He said it's $34,167 a month.
Scott's like, oh, he's noodling out.
I was the numbers guy. I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's $1,143 a day.
Yes, Scott, that's what I'm telling you.
That's cheaper than $1,250 for 5 hours.
I actually saw Scott almost like, whoa!
Using the satellite, we could get the signal all around America for less money than it costs to send the same signal around Connecticut via traditional landlines.
They were ready. They were ready. They were so smart. They had answers. They took pens out and did math and shared it in the room with me. I loved it. They were born for this.
He must have been like, the Clampetts, Beverly Hillbillies, all right? We have oil in the backyard.
Call Val back. Yeah, take one of those things. He said, one of those things? What are you talking about? You mean a transponder? Oh yeah, that's what it is. Well, take a transponder.
That was the pivotal meeting.
We're now talking about the United States of America. And boom, that opens up vistas and water spouts that no one had even visualized back when the original concept was for a Yukon channel.
Of course, we don't have any idea where the money's coming from.
Were we ready? I'm not sure. The cameras were from like the 1972 Olympics, and it was all archaic lighting.
The technical people are trying to get all the equipment in place and wired and running.
There was a moment where things weren't working, and there was a scramble to make sure, oh my God, this is, not going to happen.
Building's not done. In fact, to say it wasn't finished is a gross understatement.
The chief engineer, he came up to me and goes, I think we got a problem. The transmitter's acting up. No one knew what to do. We were sort of like the island of misfit toys.
None of the lights in the building worked with the exception of the lights that were pointed at us on the set.
There was more nervousness and edginess going on in the control room. We're hearing a lot of yelling, raised voices.
How the heck are we going to survive tonight?
On August 16th, 1978, my father and I decided that we would take the day off and drive to the Jersey Shore to celebrate my sister's 16th birthday and just not talk business.
It's a hot day and we're on Route 84 in Connecticut.
And we started talking business right away.
We are going to do this and we're going to do it right and it's going to work.
I figured there's 8,760 hours in a year.
We want to use every minute of it.
There were no models for what we were trying to do. We're like, what are we going to put on this?
I was driving and we're just talking, a lot of whatabouts, but no answers to them. What about movies?
Maybe we could do Big Ten one night of the week, the ACC on Tuesday and something else on a different night.
A slot for football. How about golf? That's good.
I thought we should put concerts on.
Can we do news all day?
What do we do with it?
Nothing's sticking.
We got stuck in a traffic jam just outside Waterbury, Connecticut. We were screaming at each other a fair amount. We were both really frustrated. We knew we were close, but we also knew we were on the verge of disaster.
We finally just said, we're going to stop talking about this for a while, which we didn't do.
I was done. I just said, I don't care what you do with it. Show football all day and see if I care.
And I can remember those words, play football all day for all I care.
For the first time in the ride, my father didn't yell back at me.
Somewhere in there, something popped.
That's it. Sports all day, every day. But sports events don't go precisely according to a television clock. So we needed something, and what are we going to do to buffer? Now, we had that show, Sports Only, and we thought, yes, that'll be between all the events. And then we will have an evening version of it to recap all the sports. That's what became Sports Center.
We arrived back in Connecticut, and we're still talking and thinking about this new 24-hour channel. We're going to have sports, and we're going to lead it off with this half-hour sports show at 6 o'clock and build from there.
We're so excited, we couldn't go to sleep. So I went over to my father's house, and we decided we're going to design our building.
We need a studio, we need offices, we need this, we need that. We laid out the map of what we thought a building should look like.
This is wee hours of the morning type of stuff. We were getting to that frustrated stage again. We didn't have a tape room. We're trying to move things around, and then my father just burst out laughing. This isn't funny, we need to have a tape room. And he took an eraser and he erased one of the walls and made the building 8 feet longer, and we had a tape room. We're excited. We think we have an idea that's going to change the world.
It was almost an obsession. We are going to do this, and we're going to do it right.
And we could just taste it.
Now we need to raise some money. $34,100 and however many dollars a month for the transponder. So I called my father and family in Chicago. We got a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there to get us through.
Who commits to a $35,000 a month expense when they literally didn't have two nickels to rub together? Satellite technology was so wildly new, the concept hadn't never existed before. And they were putting the company expenses on Bill's credit cards and loans from family members.
There was a whole lot of chutzpah and a whole lot of vision, and they're maxed out on their credit cards. It's the American dream.
There was this venture capitalist that we had met through the Whalers named J.B. Doherty.
When I first met Scott, I was impressed with the fact that he was a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed young entrepreneur, whereas Bill actually had been a marketing guy and a salesperson.
We said to JB, we need $34,167.
Fortunately, we had a relationship with RCA. We were sort of instant credibility.
So he gave us the money, and we were able to secure the transponder.
Bill and Scott were basically out of money. They needed a business plan. It became apparent that it was going to take $20 million to get this thing up on the air.
We made our first announcement that ESPN was going to be an all-sports network going on the air in the fall.
They booked the historic Cook's Tavern in Plainville, Connecticut.
We had word that there was going to be a press conference in Plainville. Now, since I lived in Plainville, the sports editor said, why don't you go there on your way to work?
So they invite 35 people, media across the state of Connecticut. And who shows up? One print reporter.
We were the first paper to write about ESPN. I thought it was not going to be long for the TV world.
JB said they were all turning us down.
Uniformly, among the people we called upon, they liked the idea. The problem we had was the deal was just too big.
Finally, JB said, I did a real estate deal with this guy at Getty Oil.
It was not too big for Getty. They were used to investing in things like oil wells and things that might not necessarily have guarantees.
JB called me and said, Somebody at Getty Oil I want you to meet. And I thought, Getty Oil, that's pretty good.
Getty Oil was our last chance to put something together like this.
Bill Rasmussen used all his money, and he didn't have anywhere else to go. My boss was Stu Evie. He was Senior VP of Getty Oil.
This gentleman came to me, and he had this ESPN concept far removed from the core business of Getty. I didn't actually jump all over it because nobody was in that business. It was a big risk.
Stu looked down on us all, I think, and had a certain superiority associated with the giant checkbook that he had control of.
He was Hollywood. I would be up in his office, and his secretary would come in and say, Mr. Evie, Mr. Hope's on the phone. And it'd be Bob Hope. He would push the button on his phone so everybody could hear.
I think he really wanted to be in pictures rather than being an oil company vice president. But he at least listened, and we progressed from that point.
Now we have to put all the pieces together.
Where are we going to find all that programming?
Back in the 70s, other than the men's championship, hardly any college basketball games were even televised, and hardly any of the tournament games.
I did know that the guy you have to talk to at the NCAA was Walter Byers. And so we went out there, and Walter called a meeting. And he said, you mean to tell me if Weber State plays Lamar Tech, you'd televise that game? Yep. He said, you would?
We said we will cover all of those games.
It was a marriage made out of not convenience, but necessity from both sides. NCAA wanted exposure, and Bill and Scott needed volume, and they needed credibility.
Stu Evie would have me fly out once a week to go over budgets.
We worked in all sorts of scenarios with projections, and we presented that, to Getty.
One week I would go out, and Evie would be furious with me about, these numbers are unrealistic. Next week I'd come back with those numbers, and he'd scream at me again.
It was precarious, and it's almost laughable at times.
As we're going through this, trying to put all the pieces together, we have to prove that we can attract advertisers.
If you think of sports, and there's a dominant name or product, what would it be? You drink beer at the ballpark, you drink beer and watching TV at home.
It seemed so obvious that Anheuser-Busch ought to do it.
We told Getty we could do all of this with advertising dollars from somebody like Budweiser.
The king of beers.
I know Bill, and I know how he operates. He went out and sold advertising, and he always came up big.
I'll never forget, Bill comes in and says, Budweiser's made $1 million buy. And Bill and I were just jumping up and down.
Because now we can show to Getty that we have a sponsor.
Bill was at his best, taking whatever positive response he got from any of these major players and sharing it with the others. It was a masterful job.
At this point, it's the juggling act. Anheuser-Busch, RCA, the NCAA, and most importantly, Getty.
So there was this big meeting at Getty Oil where they had to decide if they were going to commit. Sid Peterson, the CEO, said, will the cable industry grow? Will it accept satellite programming? Will people watch? If those assumptions are right, we're going to make a lot of money. And if not, it'll be a dry hole. And then they dismissed us and had their discussion and said yes.
We also got approval the same day with the NCAA committee.
I was at the NCAA headquarters signing the contract when we hit the jackpot. Getty, NCAA, both agreeing on the same day. When we closed the deal with Getty, Stewart was very definitive. First he said, we'll give you all the money you need for 80% of the company. And I said, Stewart, and I started, he said, no, it's now 85. Any further questions?
Bill Creasy was brought in to do the opening show. He spent most of the day trying to get the idea, the concept of ESPN on tape that would be part of the opening show.
On behalf of Getty Oil Company, I want to express our appreciation for the association we have with ESPN. We look forward to being a part of this exciting...
And Bill Creasy was trying to get it done under the gun, trying to get to 7 o'clock.
Take a deep breath.
Goddamn,
Okay, stand by.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get it over with.
No, wait till we're just talking now.
That guy's not looking at me. That's what brought me.
No, it's a wide angle. He's got you, and then he's.
Oh, I see.
Okay, we're supposed to be just chatting again. Yes, much. Yeah. And then wave your left, right. Tell us when the tape's rolling and you're all set, and we'll chat.
Okay.
Start talking. All right.
Okay.
We're just talking. We're not going to do anything until she waves.
Okay. On behalf of Getty Oil Company.
3 hours before that 7 o'clock launch,
Years ago, tales of Jules Verne.
they hoisted me up between our two 10-meter dishes to explain how this was going to work.
Today, modern technology has taken those dreams and that imagination and turned it into a reality that allows us to bring a television picture into your home via satellite.
So we're now looking for a place to put our dishes so we can send the signal up to the satellite. Plainville had an ordinance would not allow any satellite dishes in our town. Next town over was Bristol. Bristol had 4 acres for sale on an old landfill area and sold it to rookies like us.
When I saw the site, I said to myself, this is basically a manure hole.
We could be anywhere, right? Why don't we think about La Jolla, California?
Getty sent George Connor to investigate everything we were talking about. George was there from early in the process.
The city of Bristol had a council meeting. We were trying to get approval to put the Earth Station on Middle Street, and there are some people that were objected to that.
Don't forget, back in the 70s, nobody knew what a satellite dish was. Matter of fact, at one of the meetings, a former mayor got up and said, we can't do this deal because the satellite dish was somehow going to kill the birds flying in front of it.
No. No bird is going to get hurt. Now, she may crash into it and drop dead, but satellites do not kill birds.
Bill and Scott Rasmussen, they made the pitch and they said, this is going to be unique. You're never going to see anything like this again, and you're going to have it right here in Bristol, Connecticut.
Well, I got up and said that I'm with the Getty Oil Company. If Bristol doesn't want it, I guarantee there are other places that I absolutely love to have the opportunity. And it passed that night.
Bristol has always been a sports community. You got to understand, the whole country was going through a renaissance, and manufacturing was shrinking down. We're losing our manufacturing base, and we needed something to fill that void. We just got more excited about the potential.
I was 32 years old. I had just started my firm. I got a phone call from Ed Egan asking if I would be interested in working as an architect for a TV production facility.
The original building came from that yellow pad the day after we got back from my daughter's birthday. It's just crazy. Wow, we designed a building.
It was Scott's drawing. It had a studio space, had space to store tape, some production space, and a little bit of office. The studio, ultimately, it's just a box in which you create the illusion that is television.
When the building was going up and the dish was coming to the front, it was very, very unique. I mean, people would go by and say, what's that? They were our official tourist attraction.
As the production staff grew, Getty was kind of dictating what was going to happen. Stewart ended up hiring Chet Simmons. He had been at NBC Sports, King of the Hill for a number of years.
I drove up to look at lovely Bristol, Connecticut. Met Bill in kind of an open lot, and I was not impressed.
He said, oh, so you're Bill Rasmussen? Yep. Clearly, he considered himself seriously above this little guy coming in with this crazy idea.
I was president of NBC Sports with all the trappings that a network could have, big office in the corner. I had a car and a driver and everything that you could possibly want. The opportunity to have the kind of resources that Getty had to build this thing was interesting.
Chet was clearly taking over, and he had Stu's backing to do that.
Bill's license plate on his white Cadillac said ESPN, and I guess his son had ESPN1. And I said, well, we came back shaking our heads.
Not only do we have flashy white Cadillacs, we have the vanity plates. and that offended them at every level of their being.
I ask where my office is, and I am taken to a part of this building, and there is an office, and there were 3 desks in that office. One for me, one for Bill, and one for his son, Scott. I sat there and I said, you know, I gave all of that up for all of this. Bill, bless his heart, had already committed a certain date down the road.
I said, we're going to be on the air September 7th. Chet said, oh no, I'm calling Stuart. We're never going to make it. You'll never make it. I said, we're going to make it. We will meet that date, and that's ironclad.
And I told Mr. Evie that Bill and I are confident that we'll get it on the air on time. Chet didn't like that.
That was the only time I ever saw Chet back down.
I give Bill a lot of credit for setting a specific date. They're literally building the building. I mean, they had more moving parts than you can possibly imagine, yet they had this date, September 7th, 1979. Well, like anything, setting a goal has a lot of value.
And if the challenge isn't big enough already, we had 7 weeks.
Chet Simmons brought Scotty Connell in from NBC. He was really responsible for the quality of our production.
I knew that I could not do this alone. I knew what was in Bristol.
Scotty was talented. He had more Emmys on his mantle than he needed another mantle.
It was like Mr. Outside and Mr. Inside. Chet Simmons could fight with the Sharks. Scotty Connell was the guy that could lead the troops.
The combination of Chet and Scotty, it brought a sense of, wow, maybe this thing is going to really fly.
When the big guys came in, Chet Simmons, Scotty Connell, they made us feel like we're all, you know, part of the team.
We had to get producers, directors, trucks, the whole thing.
I remember the hiring process as being a little chaotic. It was more, you know, okay, you run camera, you're from WFSB, that's good enough for us, and I was hired.
And I went home and I told my parents that I was leaving Channel 3 for this startup called ESPN, which is gonna be a sports network. And I remember my father whacking me in the side of the head. He goes, what are you, out of your mind?
They were a startup operation and very disorganized.
When I first went to Bristol, you see cows, and then all of a sudden, look around and you say, wow, that's a big satellite dish. And then you see one building and about 100 acres of mud.
It was just empty fields and a lot of mud, a shell of a building going up, a dish out front.
It was, you know, like outer space, Star Wars. They didn't tell me, though, that I'd be working in a trailer in the back.
Sports Illustrated did a story on us. They said we were the best thing for sports fans since the nighttime World Series games and Monday Night Football. Stu Evie called and said, terrible article. And he just ripping me to shreds.
He wanted the publicity, so he was upset every time there was an interview that his name wasn't mentioned.
Stu had an agenda. He looked at it as a vehicle by which his notoriety was going to grow.
Stuart was a bit intrusive. He stuck his nose in occasionally where I didn't think it was to be. But when you take it all down, he was very supportive.
As time went on, I realized that Stu Evie was meddling more and more into the business.
What?
And as a PR person, I was trying to navigate as best I could. Bill was a PR dream because he could tell the story and explain what he was doing, his vision, and he would inspire you to come along.
Bill set the tone for how people were here. He was this completely accessible human being that was just so nice to everybody.
Newspapers, wire services started pumping out a lot of stories about this thing coming out of Bristol, Connecticut. Laugh at it, pass it around the office. What's all this stuff?
I got called into the office by Chet, and he's asking me to cut back on Bill's publicity. I'm tiptoeing, I'm walking on eggshells, trying to explain how we do this. Chet was savvy with the television industry, but Bill was this fascinating guy who has this idea, and it takes off.
The construction was still going on, so there was a lot of banging and noise.
Everybody's running around. We're sitting on the set. Lee Leonard is to my left on a little riser. The paint was still drying, and I got paint on my suit.
And there was this scramble to make sure that lights were adjusted and that tape would roll when we went live.
An hour before going on the air, my father and I walked around the building. We stopped in the back and just reflected on what had happened.
We looked at each other and said, we did it. That was pretty special.
Without any doubt, that's the most cherished memory I have of my father.
I can remember turning the last corner, walking back toward the front door, and went to the control room.
I remember just before we went on the air, I looked straight ahead into the control room. Here was Chet Simmons. Here was Scotty Connell. Here was Scott and Bill. And the two of them were together. And my thought at that moment was, what's going through their mind?
Of course, the Getty people wanted to come, the press were invited, and here we are. We're gonna go on the air at 7 o'clock, come hell or high water. I felt this level of fear, exhilaration, depression, excitement.
I was in the studio itself, in the corner, eating a grinder. And then from the corner of the studio, with a black olive coming out of the side of my mouth, I see the lights come on.
We're counting down to liftoff, literally.
Mary Walton was the camera person whose camera's on me.
I remember George looking at me and my locking eyes with him.
And Mary looked at me, I looked at her, we went like this.
He just had a big smile on his face, and it was all good.
And then Bill Creasy finally sat down and said, Lee, George, we're ready to go. I don't know what's gonna happen, good luck. That was the last thing I remember hearing in my ear.
I was excited about seeing our baby come to life.
It was an amazing 14 months. There were no weekends or holidays. Everybody took a sip of champagne. Something big was just about to happen. I could hear the
countdown.
Countdown.
Okay, you guys ready for this?
30 seconds, Lee, and then 10, and
9.
Let's jump on this rocket ship and go for a ride.
8.
I wanted to have more sports on the air for the community.
7.
We knew there was a nation of sports junkies.
6.
I'm hearing a lot about a satellite.
5.
They said this will never work.
4.
And then something popped.
3.
And then Getty said yes.
2.
We did it.
Q.
The most cherished memory I have of my father.
And we were off and running.
If you're a fan, what you'll see in the next minutes, hours, and days to follow may convince you you've gone to sports heaven. Beyond that blue horizon is a limitless world of sports, and right now you're standing on the edge of tomorrow. Sports, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with ESPN, the Total Sports Cable Network. Yea, verily, a sampler of wonders. Hi, I'm Lee Leonard, welcoming you to Bristol, Connecticut, 110 miles from New York City. Why Bristol? Because here in Bristol is where all the sports action is as of right now.
Lee Leonard, my God, I've grown up watching Lee Leonard.
George Grant.
George Grant is on the air. I watched George on Channel 2 in New York.
George?
Thanks, Lee, and welcome everyone to the ESPN Sports Center. From this very desk, in the coming weeks and months, we'll be filling you in on the pulse of sporting activity, not only around the country, but around the world as well.
I was offered a job at ESPN starting the weekend that they signed on.
Goes without saying that we'll be bringing you highlights of the action, but we'll go beyond the highlights. We'll go beyond the scores. we'll try to answer some of the questions that some people will leave unanswered.
I'm going to be sitting in chairs working with these guys in the next several days.
From the Sports Center, there are some other stories of note developing this weekend. We mentioned,
We're sitting in a building where there's no glass on the windows. We got flies coming in, and I'm wondering, is anybody out there watching?
Now let's go to Milwaukee for professional slow-pitch softball, the first two games of the best-of-9 championship series between Kentucky and Milwaukee.
Bill wanted to find something live that we could throw from Sports Center to our first show. The only event that they could get that would be live would be a slow-pitch softball game.
Good evening to you, everyone, from Jake's Field in Lannon, Wisconsin. I'm Joe Boyle.
So it's the Milwaukee Schlitz against the Kentucky Bourbons, the first live event.
American Slow Pitch Professional Softball League World Series.
The Milwaukee Schlitz versus the Kentucky Bourbon. Anheuser-Busch, people were saying, what about our exclusive? And it's kind of awkward. And as I remember it, somebody in the room said, it doesn't matter, nobody's watching tonight anyhow.
We're underway with the first pitch of the game. It's a called strike.
Fortunately, the folks at Anheuser-Busch, they had a good sense of humor.
It's over. We've launched. We'll see if this baby is going to cry, or we're going to see if this baby's going to crawl coming out of the bassinet.
We've pulled it off, okay, and now let's go party.
Many, many people told us there were not enough sports to do 24-hour channels. And I didn't argue with anybody. I just thought they were wrong and I was right.
I knew the world of corporate sports, and I knew that Bill's role was going to change. I looked through that control room and saw the joy on his face. But I also saw another feeling, that he didn't know where this was going.
We finally had to get everybody under control and tell them, guys, great job, but don't forget, got to do this all over again tomorrow night.
Scotty Connell was in charge of the hiring and firing of all the on-air talent. I wasn't invited to vote even.
My first day at work, which was Monday, September 10th, 1979, if you're scoring at home, my day had started at 10 in the morning and ended about 1:30 in the morning. And I go back to the Holiday Inn in New Britain, Connecticut, where I had been stashed like a federal witness, and half-kiddingly said to myself, if I ask real nice, I might be able to get my old job back.
On my first day, there was a little bit of attention paid to the fact that there was a door finally put on the men's room.
The summer of 1980, I'm a senior at UConn, and I met Bill, and I made a pitch for an internship, and I said the magic words, I will work for free.
In the very early days, there was one thing you always kept in your back pocket when you were working here, your resume.
We didn't know whether we were going to last 4 weeks, 4 months, 4 years, or 40 years.
Hello, I'm Lee Leonard, and we're on the air.
And I'm Bob Waller. We're still on the air. Stay with us for Sports Center.
Well, in other news from the world of sports in the NBA...
They had just gotten on the air, and I had an interview with Scotty Connell. He said, would you be interested in being our junior member? We have this show we're going to call Sports Center. I fooled him.
Welcome, everyone, to the ESPN Sports Center.
We started ESPN in '79. Ted Turner started All News shortly thereafter. All of a sudden, news personalities
Chris Berman, the Sports Center
became personalities too.
For Bob Lee on ESPN.
The Tom Mees, the Bob Lees, the Chris Bermans, people like that who would enjoy the challenge of doing something no one had ever done before.
Stay tuned, we've got international golf coming your way.
We were just all a bunch of young people engaged in this really fun thing. The chaos was the fun.
In the beginning, there were no rules. Let's put a show on in the barn, and by the way, we're on the air in 6 hours. Let's go.
When we first went on the air, we were on from Friday night until Sunday midnight or Monday morning, and that was it. It wasn't until September of 1980 that we actually went 24 hours.
If you worked in programming back then, I don't know how you slept. You've got to fill the void.
We were trying to fill programming with all kinds of products.
Suddenly, you could get a variety of sports, some of them you didn't even know existed.
In the beginning, we were putting on college soccer, karting, softball,
darts, rodeo, handball.
If it moved, we tried to televise it.
International hang gliding
People
championship
forget,
is
early on,
raging.
ESPN did not have the rights to some of the biggest sports leagues.
Not all of the ESPN story can be told by conventional sports. We go after some of the sports you may never have seen
So we had to find other potential opportunities, and there's no greater example of that in the early years of ESPN and Aussie rules football.
In Australian rules football, nobody would even think of it in the United States. And they ref in the hat doing this, and we didn't really know what the scoring was, but it was, these guys were rough and tumble. There were no padding.
Australian football. We turned Australian rules football into a cult classic, and we knew we had arrived when one night Johnny Carson made an Australian rules football joke. It's like, holy crap, we have arrived.
Well, we received over 10,000 postcards requesting the rules for Australian rules football. We were saying to ourselves, my gosh, there's truly a huge fan base out here.
The big picture was, what did we have on for games?
Tonight in Salt Lake City.
And very quickly, we did have college basketball on that first winter.
Connecticut comes out of the East.
So here's this tournament with 32 teams in it.
5 games tonight on ESPN.
And ESPN, this brand new entity in Bristol, we're getting all of these basketball games that led to the national championship. And out of that grew one of the great programming coups in American entertainment history. March Madness.
Take a look at some of the other teams that'll be playing in the West. 7, Weber State, the perennial Big Sky. Have the number 1 seed, Kentucky does. Old Dominion, number 9, the Mideast region. Indiana Hoosiers, Bobby Knight.
All of that because Bill and Scott needed the programming and had the vision to say, yeah, we'll have some of that, thank you. Here's our check. Give us the games.
Don't forget, Monday night, 6 o'clock Eastern Time on the Sports Center. We'll tell you our full ESPN telecast schedule for the first round of the tournament. I'm Bob Lee here in the ESPN Sports Center. Thanks very much.
Chet Simmons was the guy who was going to take you to the future. Bill Rasmussen was the perfect guy to conceptualize this network, push it out into the world, but not necessarily destined to be the guy that was going to lead it.
Despite the fact we didn't get along, Eddie did invest the money. Chet did come to work, but Stewart said, you know, you're not in charge, Chet's not in charge. Getty Oil's supplying the money, we're in charge, I'm in charge. He said, I can pull the plug instantly, anytime. It was a really bizarre kind of a working relationship.
There's so many things that I look back on and I said, my God, if I hadn't done that, we'd be done. It would be done.
The scuttlebutt, in the simplest of terms, was that the original people were going to be edged out.
Scott didn't last long. It was a conflict with Mr. Evie. He didn't want Scott, I guess, to share in any publicity.
Stu Evie and I had our meeting. My lawyers, he said, just listen, repeat back to him what the offer is, come back and call us. So I just sat there stone-faced. I made him squirm. Stu Evie was really uncomfortable. At the end, he made me 2 offers, one if I stayed and one if I left. I repeated them back to him, and as soon as I walked out the door, I knew I was gone. Going back to that time just puts a knot in my stomach all the way through.
He just walked away, done.
Scott really got eaten up by the corporate culture. It really disappointed me, and he wasn't treated right.
Ed Egan, Stewart just didn't even acknowledge that he existed, so he was gone as well.
People have lots of opinions about Stu. I don't like the way he treated us, but I look back on this with a little more grace for him than I did at the time. He's one of the handful of people who I would say if it hadn't been for them, ESPN wouldn't have happened.
After Scott gets fired, obviously, the thought crosses my mind, maybe I'm next.
It was interesting to wonder who was out there at 2:30, 2:45 in the morning.
Live via satellite, this is ESPN Sports Center.
I oversaw all viewer mail, and people were writing about how we were filling their time when they got off the late shift.
Beautifully written, heartfelt. I remember so many of them.
We received letters about parents naming their children after ESPN, Espen. We got a letter that we were named in a lawsuit for divorce because the husband was watching too much ESPN.
I got a letter from a father in Iowa, I remember, said, "Thank God you're there. I'm feeding my baby and I get something to watch."
Guys that worked in remote right from the beginning. They said that before the game started, they would put ESPN banners up at a stadium. And when they drove away, they were still up.
The banners were out, and people kind of staring at the banners. What's an ESPN?
The guys knew that we had made it when the banners were gone by halftime.
People were calling their cable operators. They wanted ESPN. Hotels and motels would have signs, "We have HBO and ESPN."
But very early on, we would go to a commercial and it would be Ginsu knives.
Here's how to order.
Pool tips, public service announcements.
Gillette did a big deal. Men's product lines started coming on board.
Thank God for Anheuser-Busch. Thank God for those early sponsors who kept us going.
I got a call from Stu and said, "Chet's got something to say." So I walked in, and before I sat down even, Chet came over to me. He said, "You know, you're done. You're out of here."
That chessboard got crowded and some pieces had to leave.
Chet, it was just about a year ago that we sat here in Studio A at ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut, along with Stu Evey, along with Bill Rasmussen, and a whole lot of other folks, and contemplated on what the year would be like. What are your reflections after 1 year?
It wasn't anything like I thought it would be. It was a lot worse.
And it was tough, because those of us who were there at the beginning owed everything to Bill. So the chessboard is crowded, and something had to give. And what gave was checkmate Bill and Scott.
ESPN never would have survived without Getty Oil and without Stu Evey. Very clear. But in the same respect, with that came a loss of power for Bill Rasmussen.
It no longer felt like it was a family operation. It felt like it was a corporate operation.
When Bill gets fired, it's sad because he thought it up.
We're made of dreams and wild bits of
What do
imagination.
you mean he's not going to be around? His picture with the foot on the shovel, you know, breaking ground. How is that possible? He's George Washington.
I was shocked. I mean, he's a founding father of ESPN. Ted Turner didn't get shoved out at CNN, did he?
I don't like what they did to Bill, but again, he is the story of ESPN, bar none.
Well, I'm
There was a lot of swashbuckling and doing it by the seat of our pants in the early years. Eventually, a bureaucracy was formed. Eventually, rules were put in place.
Pros had to come in and show that they were pros, and they did.
When you lose someone like Bill, you lose a piece of your history. And that's what ESPN lost.
Entrepreneurs take big swings. Entrepreneurs don't know if things are going to be successful or not. They're willing to try, and that's where the clash between entrepreneurial spirit and corporate realities meet.
My father and I walked away with very low 7 figures total between us. They got 85% of the company, and all of the people involved in the beginning had to split the remaining 15%. It was a big corporation taking advantage of a couple of guys who we didn't have good enough lawyers. It's the way it goes.
Once it started to grow, everybody knew about ESPN. It was like a giant game of Monopoly. They just basically were, I want a building here, I want a building there, and we need another building over here, and they would just bang, bang, bang.
It began as a dream a decade ago.
As each anniversary came up, I was suggesting that we invite Bill, and I was turned down.
When I became president in 1998, things are changing, we're growing rapidly. The 25th anniversary comes along in 2004. 25 years is something to celebrate. Of course we're going to have Bill Rasmussen here.
I mean, I'm just a regular guy who gets an idea and carries it through to the finish, and win or lose, you hope you win more than you lose.
And it's one thing to have a good idea, it's quite another to make it happen. I attribute quite a bit of it to Bill's optimism, his personal style, his work ethic, his experience in media, his love of sports from a child.
I mean, it's an American story of opportunity, inventiveness, energy, and will. Nearly 50 years on, ESPN is as much a cultural force as anything over the last 125 years in this country. The friendships, the careers, the number of families who have, built careers and lives working for the network. All of that traces back to those two guys in a traffic jam in Waterbury, Connecticut. I mean, that's pretty powerful.
All I wanted to do was see sports on television. I thought it was great. If I could be involved in sports, wouldn't that be fun to wake up every day thinking about baseball or football? I achieved that. I got there. And it's still there. And I'm still as proud of it today. We did it, I guess, is the operative phrase.
We're here talking about Bill, and we all shared so much. And we all gave of ourselves because we cared about each other. We fought the odds, and we had fun doing it.
Every sports fan should be grateful to Bill Rasmussen.
Bottom line was, Bill Rasmussen is the true purveyor of the original American dream. And he gave us all something very special that we still have today.
Amazing.